Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to welcome you this Saturday morning for a fabulous keynote for Forefront 2021. I am thrilled to be able to introduce to you Peter Reynolds, who is a New York Times bestselling author and illustrator. He's published in over 25 languages. Peter's work has focused on nurturing the human spirit in all ages. The Dot, Ish, The Word Collector, and Say, among many others, inspire children and grown-up children with his messages about authentic learning, creativity, bravery, empathy, and courageous self-expression. Peter, we are so honored and thrilled to have you to speak to our Catholic educators today. Without further ado, I'm going to turn the stage over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And I am not Andrea Calvin, although I think my label says Andrea Calvin. Andrea Calvin is one of my colleagues at the Reynolds Center for Teaching, Learning, and Creativity, reynoldstlc.org. If you visit that site, you can see what Andrea, myself, my twin brother, the whole team, what we are doing to help change the world, make it a better place, and add more TLC to this universe, and especially to give TLC to educators, because educators are doing such tremendous work to make this world a better place, to activate every citizen to their full potential. And that is tremendous amount of work, especially during challenging times. And wow, this has been what a challenging year this has been. So congratulations to all of you for surviving and hopefully even thriving in this challenging year. When the going gets tough, the creative get going. That is where innovation happens, and that's what's so exciting about this this summit, this gathering of kindred spirits, thinking about innovation. Yes, technology, but those are tools. What are we using those tools to do? We want to innovate, to make new connections, to make discoveries, to find new ways to engage powerfully and deeply with every young citizen, and you know what? Every citizen of this planet, no matter what age. And thank you to everybody who's joining us today. I know that we have people from around the world, and I know we've got our friends from Guam who have joined us very, very late. I believe it's, 2 a.m., 2 in the morning in Guam. So you brave souls who have joined us in the early hours of tomorrow. That's kind of cool. You're time travelers. What's the future look like, Guam? Does it look good? I think I can see it from here because I have an imagination. And that's one of the things I wanted to celebrate in this special 60 minutes together, to celebrate the power of imagination and creativity to make things better, right? I mean, simply make things better. Every single day when we wake up, we get a chance to do it again, right? And we can learn from what happened yesterday. So that also is a message that I want to remind us, that as we squeeze through the portal of this future into this brave new world, let's not forget the things that work, right? There are things that work before technology, like humans connecting. Now, technology actually allowed us to connect in brand new ways, but let's not forget how powerful it is just to get together with another human being. Hopefully soon without masks, right? Safely, we can get together and gather around the table. And I'm very excited because I wrote a brand new book. It's not out yet. It comes out in October, and it's called Our Table. And it is a fable. Do you know what? I actually got the cover yesterday. Do you want to see the cover? Nobody has seen these except for me. We call these the color proofs. The publisher sends this to me to say, did we get the colors right? So this is the cover to the book, Our Table. And it's a fable. It is a fable about a family's dining room table. And the little girl in the family, her name is Violet. And Violet notices something that the rest of the family is too busy to notice, that their dining room table is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And she makes the connection that the more time that her family spends on their devices, computers, television, cell phones, the faster the table shrinks. Until one day, Violet picks up the dining room table that can fit in the palm of her hand. She blinks, she opens her eyes, and it's gone. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, so stay tuned. But Violet's job is to figure out how to bring that table back. And more importantly, how to bring her family back to the table. And I think that's what we have to do as a world, that we have to imagine this table and how do we bring everybody to that table. Let's make sure that there's food for that feast, but let's also make sure that there's kindness and love. And that is what knits us all together, is kindness and love. The books that I write, I always tell kids, and grown-up kids too, that if you look through my books, you will always find a kind person. And they take forms in many different ways. Sometimes they're teachers, sometimes they're little sisters, and sometimes it's yourself, right? That you can also be kind to yourself. And that's one of the messages that I believe in, and that at the Reynolds Center we believe in, that you really have to take care of yourself, your spirit, your soul. Take care of it, recharge it, take time for yourself. Things, we're really, really busy. And we need to take time to hear what's in here and what's in here, what we're thinking, what we're dreaming, and know that for ourselves, and then activate it in our lives. How can you take care of yourself and recharge? Because if we're going to be inspiring young people to activate their true potential, we have to show them what it looks like. If we want our children to be brave, we have to show them what bravery looks like. If we want kids to be creative, we have to show them what it looks like. And by the way, creating can sometimes be a little scary, right? Because to create means to make something. To make something, usually it's from various ingredients that sometimes they seem like they have nothing to do with each other. And you have to put them together and you make something altogether new. And by the way, the blank page can be a little frightening for some people. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before I do, I just wanted to say that if you're feeling creative as I speak to you, please feel free to doodle. Pick up a pen, a paintbrush, a marker, and just draw what you're feeling. Anything I might say, something, a word might strike you. Now, the wonderful thing is, and this is a great innovation in education, we now call doodling sketchnoting. I wish they had invented that when I was a kid, because in school, I loved to draw. I was drawing all the time. I couldn't help myself. I had to draw. Any blank space was my canvas. The back of my math test, the margins of a book, blank envelopes, scraps of paper. I had to draw. It was like breathing, which, by the way, breathing is really one of my favorite things to do. And I think we all need to learn how to breathe better. By the way, I do a series with Susan Verde. If you haven't discovered the I Am series, please find these books. I am yoga. I am human. I am love. I am one. And Susan and I just finished a brand new one called I Am Courage. And that's a really, really good one. And Susan's work focuses on teaching kids how to take care of those essential tools like breathing. Look, the brain needs oxygen, and we need to feed our brain. So if you want to, you can take a deep breath right now. I'm going to do it right now. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, in. Hold it and out. I don't know about you, but my brain feels really good after a good deep breath. And that's getting, again, back to the basics, the things that we know work. Taking that deep breath, gathering around the table, human connectivity. Those are really, really important things. And you also have lots of wisdom that you've collected along the way as educators, working with young people and maybe older people. You have learned and figured out innovative ways to connect with your audience. And that's the brilliance of an innovative educator, is you know how to go off script. You know how to look at your audience and say, I had this planned and I was going to do it this way, but given this day and the way my kids are feeling, or the people in front of me are feeling, I think I'm going to take a left turn. And sometimes those left turns that's where I call it accidental brilliance, right? Accidental brilliance, that you're just going to say something. You're like, for this child in front of me, I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to read you a book that you might have heard before, but it's kind of like a prayer, right? You can say a prayer every day and you'll derive something new, and you'll derive energy from that book. So I wrote a book called The Dot. And this book is about bravery. It is about art and creativity, but it's also about bravery and kindness. It's also about going off script. And we're going to see a teacher who does some innovating on the fly. I wrote this book 18 years ago, and it is now in 25 languages. And it also launched a celebration called International Dot Day. And if you don't know about International Dot Day, you can go to thedotclub.org, and you can sign up for this year's celebration. I think last year we had 191 countries joining us. So it's a really cool way to connect the dots with all of the wonderful dots out there around the world. It's a celebration of creativity, and also this bigger idea of how will you use your God-given gifts to make this world a better place, and activate those gifts, whether it's art or singing or writing or teaching, or inventing. So that's what Dot Day is all about. The Dot, written and illustrated by me. It comes in very handy when you're able to draw. So by the way, keep doodling or keep sketchnoting, all right, as we go along today. Art class was over, but Vashti, she sat glued to her chair. So she's got that blank page, and I always ask kids, where are the other students? Probably outside at recess, right? They're having fun. And why is Vashti still there? Doesn't look like she's in a good mood. So why doesn't she just run outside? Why is she still there? Good question. Vashti's teacher leaned over the blank paper. A polar bear in a snowstorm. Very funny, said Vashti. I just can't draw. Her teacher smiled. Just make a mark and see where it takes you. Vashti grabbed that marker and she gave the paper a good, strong jab. There. So Vashti's still in a pretty feisty mood, even though I think she's got a pretty nice teacher, right? So that very lovely teacher picks up the paper and she looks at it very, very carefully. And then she pushes the paper toward Vashti and she quietly says, now, sign it. Vashti thought for a moment. Well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name. And there she is, signing her name, V-A-S-H-T-I, Vashti. Still not in a very good mood, is she? But at least she has confidence because she knows how to write her name, which, by the way, is making marks. And I remind kids that their ABCs are actually 26 drawings. And they're like, 26 drawings? Oh, interesting. Connections, dot connections. The next week when Vashti walked into art class, she was surprised to see what was hanging above her teacher's desk. Check that out. Oh my gosh, there's the dot she drew. Her little dot. All framed in swirly gold. Wow. Now you would think that Vashti would be pretty happy, right? Let's see what kind of mood she's in. She's still in a mood. I could make her better dot than that. She opens her never before used set of watercolors and sets to work. Vashti painted and painted a red dot, a purple dot, a yellow dot, a blue dot. The blue mixed with the yellow. She discovered she could make a green dot. How cool is that? Vashti kept experimenting. Lots of dots in many colors. That's a cool word, right? Experimenting. I like to point out that that sounds like a science word, but it's also an art word. It's a creativity word, experimenting. And if you noticed, she mixed her colors by accident. Accidental brilliance, right? She mixed those two colors and she made a discovery that she could make new colors. So if you could make a new color using blue and yellow, what could you get if you mixed orange and green? Try it. And in fact, that's a really fun thing to do with kids, is to invent these new colors and find discoveries just by going off script. If I could make little dots, I could make big dots too. Vashti splashed her colors with a bigger brush on bigger paper to make even bigger dots. Vashti even made a dot by not painting a dot. Check this out. Look what she did. She painted all the way around. And she left the middle dot shaped. And that is called thinking outside of the dot. Once again, creativity in action. Look, she made so many dots, they actually had to put on a show. And there's Vashti. She's checking out a dot sculpture. And there's some people admiring her work. Oh, look, there's the dot. By not painting a dot. And there's a little boy. And that little boy is like super excited. He's like, oh my gosh, it's Vashti. She's actually here in the gallery. And I am in the same gallery. And I wish I could talk to her. I would love to meet her. But I'm not brave enough. I'm just going to stand next to her, staring awkwardly. Vashti did notice that little boy eventually. And and the boy finally plucks up his courage and he says, you're a really great artist. I wish I could draw. I bet you can, said Vashti. Oh, me. No, not me. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. Now, where did he learn that from? Maybe a nervous adult? We have to be careful what we say around kids, right? They're sponges. They'll soak it all in. They'll soak in our confidence, and they'll soak in our nervousness and our trepidation. Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper, which she now carries around with her because she is an artist. So she carries her notebook at all times to capture her brilliant ideas so she does not forget them. She hands the boy a blank sheet of paper. Show me. The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. And of course, why is his pencil shaking? Right, because he's nervous. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle. And then she said, 3 words. Please, sign it. And this is my favorite page in the book because I love his expression. He looks a little bit shocked, a little surprised. And he's like, what? Me? Sign it? Like an artist? Like an artist. Like an artist. And that's his moment. That is his moment of transformation. Vashti believed in him the way that Vashti's teacher believed in her, even before Vashti gave her teacher evidence of her mastery, right? Her teacher was able to see Vashti's potential. And that, my friends, is our superhuman power. That we can see the potential in everybody around us. Even the people who have their arms folded, the person who's staring out the window, the person who's frustrated and says, I can't. I can't do math. I can't speak another language. I always like to say that, right? If you spend time with me, I can get you there. I can get you to draw. I can get you to relax about drawing. And, that is the biggest gift that we can give our learners around us. is to help them to take that deep breath, to relax, and to just start, right? Just give it a try. And then, of course, the bigger lesson is keep going. Right? Keep going and never stop. Keep going, never stop. Keep going, never stop. Paul and I, by the way, I'm a twin. Do we have any twins out there? Have any twins? My twin brother is my best friend. I was born with my best friend. And by the way, it's Paul's birthday coming up, March 16th. So if you want to wish Paul a happy birthday, you can. I was very blessed to be born with this amazing human being. And he has been my creative partner along the journey for so many years. And we had a really fun childhood. We grew up in a big family. We had 7 people around our table, and our table was a noisy table. Our table was a storytelling table. Our table was a table of love. And it was also a very messy table. In fact, the house was kind of messy. It was what we like to say is it was creative chaos in our house. When you've got 7 people, 7 busy people, the place kind of tends to get a little bit messy. But we were busy, and there were a couple of things that I think were formational for us. We were in the scouting program. I am an Eagle Scout, and I recommend scouting for now boys and girls in the United States. Girls are now able to become Eagle Scouts, and we have a new flock of Eagles, very proud of. And that was terrific. We met in the basement of the St. Mary's Church in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And of course, on the weekends, what did we do? We were altar boys. We were altar boys. And in fact, I think I have a picture of us as altar boys. Oh, yeah, here it is. I just found this today. Paul and I were talking about it. And can you see this? Check this out. I have no idea which one is Peter and which one is Paul. The one in the middle is our sister Rini, and that's Father Barabee, right? Father Barabee. Father Barabee, if you joined us today, hello. So we were altar boys, and by the way, when you're twin altar boys, you become the favorites for especially funerals. We were very popular for funerals, and weddings. Right? And weddings. And so, because you'd have the priest and then you'd have the twin altar servers, it made for really good photographs. But our Catholic faith was also very formational for us. And our mother, Hazel, joined in because my mother has, she has this lovely attribute of always thinking that she can do it better, right? She would always say, after she would see a theater production, or an event would be over, or a wedding, we'd go to a wedding, and she would always very politely, she would wait for everyone to sort of quiet down, and she would say, now what I would have done, and it's really powerful, what I would have done. She always had a way to look at it and say, we could have done better. Right. And my twin brother is very famous. He's so positive and optimistic and kind. And he's always like, oh, everyone did their best. Everyone did their best. But I see my mother's point that there was always room to make it better. Right. And that's a lesson that all of us, like, we are not finished. We're works in progress. We're not perfect people. There's always room to make it better. There's always room to be kinder. I can become a more wonderful father. I could become a more wonderful friend. I could become a more wonderful boss. I could become a more wonderful artist, right? There's so many ways for growth every single day of our lives. Our mother, by the way, she celebrates her birthday the day before ours on March 15th. So you can wish Hazel Reynolds a happy 96th birthday. She jumped into our religious ed as a teacher, and I think she saw what we were doing, and we were bringing home our activities, and she jumped in, and she, being just a super creative human being, started innovating. And so she would use the books given to her really just as a starting point, but she would go off script. And in fact, I think maybe she was the person that really taught me and Paul how to go off script and say, look, this is sort of the foundation, but feel free to innovate. Feel free to make it more interesting, more engaging. So she one of the things, and she would tap me on the shoulder and say, Pete, can you draw, could you draw these scenes? I'm trying to tell a story. Can you illustrate the story for me? Or can you, one activity I remember her saying was, I would like to give every one of my students a license as for being Catholic, and she wanted a Catholic license. And so and she took photographs of all the kids. We made little laminated licenses, and saying that you were a card-carrying Catholic, and that and she talked about the learning how to drive, and you get your permit and your license when you kind of know the rules of the road. And she said that as Catholics, that we were then able to go out into the world and to be kind, and to be listeners, and to be shepherds. So she is still an amazing human being. Oh, hello, Hazel. Look, there's a picture of Hazel. She just got her second COVID shot. So she has been inspiration for Paul and myself. And then another person that was very formational for us, and this is actually kind of connects some interesting dots, because as scouts, as I mentioned, we were scouts. So during the summer, we would go to scout camp. We went to Camp Watauga in New Hampshire. And one of the, and so Paul and I arrived, we're 11 years old. We arrive at camp, first time at sleepover camp. We had each other, so you would think that we'd be okay. But you know what? We wanted to go home. As the sun is setting, we're like, no, we're out of here. We want to go home. We go up to the main lodge, and we talk to the camp director, and we're like, we want to go home. We want to talk to our mother. Now, my mother had just taken us up in the morning, and it took about 4 hours to get to this camp. And she had driven back, so that's 8 hours out of her day. And so the phone rings in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, and it's us, and we're crying, and we're gonna take it. We want to come. And she says, well, do you know what? It's too late for me to drive, but I promise you tomorrow I will come back and I will get you. It's too bad it didn't work out. Meanwhile, the camp director, being a smart camp director, taps the scout chaplain on the shoulder, who happened to be a fellow named John Bonowitz. And John Bonowitz was actually a very young man at the time. I think he was 22? He was 22 years old. Scout chaplain. He overheard us wailing away, and so his mission was to see if he could get us to stay at camp. So we met John Bonowitz, and it was one of those amazing moments, right? You probably can think of the people who changed your life on your journey. Can you think of somebody? It might have been a teacher, could have been a friend, it could have been a grandparent, somebody who you really connected with, and they really got you, and they really loved you, and that they helped you become who you are today. John, we didn't know it at the time, but John was about to change our lives. He, with his kindness and his creativity, he was able to get us to stay at the camp. He said one of the magic words. I don't know where he thought of this idea, but he said, tomorrow, let's make puppets. He's like, there's an arts and crafts building, and we can make puppets. And that's what we did. We were so excited about, we're like, we're going to make puppets. And the next day we went up to the arts and crafts. I still remember this brown dog, leather dog with big flappy ears. I wonder if we still have it. And so we made these puppets. And so we call our mother, and we're like, oh, we made puppets with John, and it's so awesome. And then my mother said, well, I'm going to be coming to get you. And no, we don't want to go home. We want to stay here. which is what happened. So we stayed there for the whole week, and we bonded with John. John became a mentor, and he shared his amazing journey with us as we grew up. We adopted him because his family had kind of unadopted him. He grew up as a Jewish boy and young man. He went to college in New York City, and he took a course on religious studies, and they came across Catholicism. And as he began to study Catholicism, he was struck by lightning, right? He had his moment, and he went to a Catholic mass. And I think it was at that first Catholic mass where he could hear the calling, right? He could hear the voice, vocare, right? Vocare is the calling. It's to invoke. He was invoked that day. He heard the calling, and it's interesting, vocare, vocation, right? So he discovered his vocation because he heard himself. He heard that voice, which is, of course, that's our wish for all of us, for all of our students, to hear that voice, to make peace, to find those quiet moments, to take that deep breath, to hear that calling. John heard that calling, and he decided to become a Catholic. And he became a Catholic. And he went home and he told his parents. And his parents were not only disappointed, they were, his father picked up a suitcase, threw in some clothes of John, opened up the front door and drop kicked it across the street and threw John out of that, literally threw him out of the house, locked the door. And John did not see his parents for many, many years. And until his parents were sick, and then there was a reunion. But John was he set out on his own journey, and we met this very brave man named John Bonowitz, who decided to become a Catholic priest. And his dream was to become a Trappist monk. That was his early calling. He could hear the voice. I want to become a Trappist monk. And he actually went to the monastery in Spencer, Massachusetts, and he said, I want to become a monk. Now he's like in his mid-20s, and they were like, okay, so you were born Jewish, you just became a Catholic, and now you want to become a monk. That's kind of, do you know what that means? And he's like, I do, I know what that means. They said, do you know what? Come back to us, go and be a priest, and then come back to us. And if you still want to, you could become a Trappist. So that was a 10-year journey. He became a parish priest in Somerville, Massachusetts, and he was a Jesuit. So which is also kind of very formational for us, because now here we are, we're getting to hang out with this really brave human being who heard the calling, and he became a Jesuit. And as you know, Jesuits are a really amazing a group. They follow the Ignatian philosophy of discerning your gifts, your God-given gifts. What are those gifts, and then how do you activate them to make more light in this world? And again, very formational. And for if you look at the work that Paul and I are doing in the Reynolds Center, it is all about discerning your gifts and how do you use your gifts and talents to make this world a better place. I wrote a book called The North Star. If you get a chance to read it, it's about a little boy who gets lost in the woods, and he's trying to make his way through this dark place, the swamp, and eventually he discovers that there's a map. Wow, why didn't anyone tell him there was a map? And he discovers the map by accident, right? Accidental brilliance. And he, while he's searching for a way out, he finally looks up, right? He looks up and he notices the stars, all the stars above him, like a great big map. And he uses those stars to navigate himself out of the swamp. He eventually finds a boat and he gets in this boat and he sails off. And he still knows it's a long journey ahead, but it's his journey, right? His very, very own wonderful journey. And actually there's do we have the book, Paul? By the way, I've got my twin brother here, Paul Reynolds, who's assisting me. And I think we have, oh, there it is, the North Star book. There you go. Very handy to have all my books right there. So here, let's, Oh, actually, I'm going to show you. This is one of my favorite pages in the book. Right, that illustration this way. Right? Have you ever felt like that? Like there's no clear direction. And so what happens if you don't know which way to go? In fact, I like asking kids, which way would you go? And kids will say, oh, I would go left. I would go right. I would go left. I would go right. One little girl said, well, what I would do is I would climb to the top of that tree and I would look out and see where I was. And maybe I could find my way home. And I'm like, that's innovation, right? That's brilliance. I love it. Kids are so brilliant. That's why I like hanging out with kids, because they're free to be brilliant. Let's see if I can find this page. Oh yeah. So there he is. He's lost in the swamp. He's trying to find his way out, and he meets a bird, and the bird says, well, where is it that you want to go? And he says, I don't know. And the bird's like, what? You don't know where you're going? And he's like, well, I've been following the path, and it looks like a lot of people have gone that way, and a very helpful cat guided me back to the path when I tried to wander. And then he looks around and he sees this swampy place, and he's like, but this is not the place I want to be. And the bird says, well, follow the signs you already know. And he says, what signs? Where are they? But the bird flew off into the cloudy night sky. The boy looked up into the sky, something he had not done in a very long time. He tried desperately to see where the bird had gone, but as he did, the clouds seemed to melt. And there, above him, was a star, a very bright star. The boy stared at the star and felt a pang in his heart, a tingling in his spine, a whisper in his ear. He could hear the star. The voice sounded so familiar. The story goes on, but I wanted to point out that page because just like John had his moment of having that enough space and creating that space for himself to hear the voice, to hear his calling, to be invoked. And he discovered his vocation. And that is our biggest gift that we can give those around us, is to help them connect the dots, right? To discover their gifts, discern their gifts, and then to encourage them to activate those gifts. And also activate them intentionally to cause more light in this world. Right? There are a lot of things we can do, but what can we do to make more light? Helping someone learn another language, that is going to open doors and create more light. Helping kids to feel more confident, to know that they have tools that they can access, that is also a gift, and that causes more light. So there's lots of ways of doing that. I have been creating books and films to help do that. I wrote, there's actually a film which I think Paul will give the link to, and it's called He Was Me. And it's a story for grown-ups. It's an animated film that we made quite a few years ago, but it's one of my favorite stories. It's not a book, it's a film. And it's a story that reminds us that we adults, right, we have to remember the child inside of us, and to remember what brings us joy, and to rediscover that voice, right, the voice inside of us. And of course, right, our voice, the voice inside of us, when we have time, when we make peace and we can hear it, that voice, right, our bodies were given to us by God. That voice also inside of you was given to you by God. So it's really God's voice whispering, if you have the patience and the time and the peace to discover it. So books can help us, right? The Bible is one of those books, right? I always say, right, the Bible is a handbook for amazing human beings. And it's a big book, right? It's a long book, and reading it from start to finish to kids, that I don't know if that would work, especially with their short attention spans. But what I tried to do is take some of the essence from those big ideas, and I wrote a book called Be You. And this is a handbook for amazing human beings, and it just reminds us of some of our many, many gifts. We are human beings, right? We are beings. Why are we called human beings? Because we can be many, many, many things, and we can be amazing. We can be kind. We can be brave. But the most important thing is, right, to be you, to be authentically you. And so I'm going to just, oh, and by the way, the journey isn't always easy, so we have to be persistent. So this has been really lovely. Our time has flown by, and I'm going to wrap it up now and just say thank you for letting me spend these moments with you. I hope that your spirit got a little recharge today, and just keep going and don't stop. Make sure you take care of yourself, and again, all the other things will flow naturally if you have your own personal batteries recharged. So take time for yourself, take care of yourself. Please stay safe, and please consider me and Paul and Andrea, the Andreas, our friends on the journey. And if you want to spend more time with me or Paul, right, you can pick up one of our books and you can start reading, and we will be there with you. So, and I will end off with just a reminder: create bravely, make things, and make more light in this world. Thank you all for joining me today. It was lovely, lovely to connect, and I'm sure I saw lots of chats going on the side. I'll catch up later, and I feel like we've made some really wonderful dot connections today. So thank you, and yeah, be sure to join our big sister Jane, who is also very formational for us. She was an amazing storyteller, and she's going to teach you some wonderful things about animation and storytelling. So thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Peter, for all of sharing your time with us and all of those wonderful, seeing those books brings back so much, just as a parent and a teacher with the children that I have and have worked with. So I think Create Bravely is a wonderful message, especially for this time, for all of these teachers who do that and have been doing that all year through very difficult circumstances. We're so thankful for their ministry. We have some wonderful sessions coming up at noon, but I wanted to point out that one of the prize giveaways we have is for Peter to come visit your classroom for 30 minutes virtually. So make sure you check out the Expo Hall and the Goose Chase game to enter to win that possibility. That's a very generous prize. And then we have I know Fable Vision has a bunch of exciting activities and things, as well as all of our vendors in the Expo Hall. So make sure during that lunchtime hour and a half that we have there that you do go visit them. I am going to say goodbye for now, and I'll see you on another session in a few minutes. Thank you all so much. Have a blessed day.
Bye, everybody. Take care. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for all the kind comments.